welcome to another episode of the Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reid, and today I'm so excited. I'm so tickled. I have with me a guy from Great Britain, Mr. Fidel Beauhill. He is a modern man coach, and he is the author of the book, Divorce, A Modern Man's Guide. So I can't wait to hear all of this, but first and foremost, welcome to the show.
Why, thank you, darling. I enjoyed the way that my accent tickled you.
It does. You know, I'm a military brat, so I grew up as a young girl traveling around to different countries. So it's always, just very pleasant to me to hear other people speak and talk. It's just very endearing to me. But British is so proper.
Some of them are.
Some of them are.
I'm pretending to be one of those today.
Okay, right. On camera, but let's get you off camera. It's a different story. But anyways, so let's jump into the book because we don't have much time today. Now, the title of your book, Divorce, A Modern Man's Guide, that kind of alludes to the fact that divorce is a different beast today for a modern man versus what it was yesterday. Do you think the dynamics, or what are some of the dynamics that the modern man has to deal with when it comes to divorce?
I think, it's my brand is the modern man and the modern man coach. So that was a play on it. I think the main issue is that it's just happening more and more often. Okay. It's something that we have to cope with, and it's different just simply because of the volume. And the fact that divorces nowadays are mainly instigated by women.
Mm-hmm. You guys don't walk away? You guys don't say, I'm tired, I'm fed up? In
less than we get told to get out, pack your stuff. Oh, see, I nearly went there.
I know, right? That's okay. So let me pry a little bit. Is this a personal experience for you as well?
For sure. I mean, no, I've had a very amicable divorce. I get on really well with my ex-wife. In fact, we're over here dealing with the COVID situation, and I'm having to isolate after a test. I came back positive, but she dropped me around some food and stuff like that yesterday. Oh. So I get on really well. Did I say positive? I meant negative. So we get on really well. We had a very amicable divorce. It was a mutual decision. I guess the reason for the book was the fact that I was surprised that even myself as a coach and a therapist and somebody who works with men and relationships and so forth, that it hit me so hard. It took me still so long to get over, even though I wasn't heartbroken, even though it wasn't horrible, even though it wasn't getting dragged out, even though I was still able to see my kids. And if I found it that difficult, what must other guys be going through? The real driver for the book there was that I realized there was no resources for us. Like if you go onto Amazon and you look at you type in divorce books, like 8 of them are for women, 2 of them are for either or, and the very limited websites, blogs and podcasts that are around men and divorce are all focused on very practical advice and information. So they're about legal advice to make sure you can still see your kids and how to fight for custody and all of this sort of stuff. Financial, to make sure you don't lose the house and your business and everything else. And these kind of stereotypical things that happen to men in divorces. So there was very little emotional or mental support out there for guys, even though there's lots of reports out there and lots of studies to show that men actually suffer more emotionally than women do during this process. So,
okay. Now, you're kind of alluding to a question, men and the whole concept of masculinity. And when it comes to divorce, a lot of times when I'm talking to men and women, but mostly men, they're going through the process, they say they feel like such a failure, and it's tied to their sense of masculinity, what it means to be a man. Is there some sort of tools and tips that they could do because that's negative self-talk, I think, that you feel like such a failure?
For sure. So I could go a bit personal on this. One of the things that really hit me as a failure is sort of in the build up to all of this. I actually I lost a business a few years before, and that's what got me into the work that I'm doing. And I didn't tell anybody. The business I was running was hit with financial difficulties, and I struggled on without telling anybody, not even my wife, or any of my staff or associates or anything else like that. And I carried that around with me and ended up in hospital with a panic attack that I thought was a heart attack. The first and last one I've ever had. And that the reason I didn't tell anyone, that was heavily linked to my masculinity and my thoughts on it, and wanting to be the member of society, the respected businessman, the provider for my family and everything. And when that went wrong, I didn't want to talk about it to anyone. So that's what got me into the work that I do. My ex-wife, funnily enough, during the process, when I came out with the same words, she was like, how are you feeling? And I said, well, I kind of feel like we failed. I feel like a failure in this marriage. And she said, nah. She said, look, our marriage was a success, and it still is. I'm always going to look on the time we had together as a success. We didn't fail. In fact, we caught it just in time to stop it becoming a failure. And that was wise words from her, and since then I've gone on to I preach that, and I've studied it well. Great relationship coach Esther Perel from Belgium. She's very famous worldwide, and she says it's time to stop judging the quality of a relationship on the length of time it lasts.
Okay. Good tips. Okay.
Now, and since my divorce, I've had some fantastic relationships that have been 24 hours, and
relationships don't seem to last these long these days.
Listen, but I mean, listen, we're only comparing it to a very short space of time. When we say that, we're literally only talking for the last 100 years or so. When we look at the length of time that human beings have been interacting with each other, and men and women have been interacting with each other, we're talking thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years.
True.
And we only look at this small thing since the Industrial Revolution, since capitalism and everything else like that, when marriage became a thing. Certainly a marriages outside of sort of forced marriage and marriages of convenience and survival. The concept of romantic love has only been around a few hundred years.
True. Now, listening to you talk, especially, that you and your wife still say that you had a successful marriage. I'm curious, what in your mind, or what in your definition is a successful marriage, or possibly a successful relationship?
Well, I think the key to it really is knowing when it's ended. For sure.
Are you saying it's going to end? Is that a guarantee?
Not necessarily. I'm saying knowing when it is when it is time to end, whether that's never, whether that's after 24 hours, a year, but just knowing when you guys have come to that point. Also, we tried everything. I wasn't going to walk away unless I'd tried everything.
Okay.
My wife, I think, had already kind of sussed it and was kind of coming along for the ride when I was booking sort of therapy and stuff. But again, probably my masculinity, my thing of failure was driving me to that. I'm not going to walk away, or so I thought, from my kids. Actually, my relationship with my children has improved tenfold since.
Got you. Because a lot of times I think men and women, we hold on to relationships because, for the kids or whatever. Oh
man, that's such nonsense.
Yes, but it's more detrimental to the child because they're watching, and they're sensing all of the toxic stuff in the house.
The kids know. Like in hindsight, my youngest especially, she was asking us if we were going to get a divorce 3 years before we did it. They know. Children are energetic beings. They sense this stuff, and we shut this stuff down. We stop listening to our instinct. We plow on. We're too busy going to work, paying the bills, avoiding each other, kind of hold it all together. But the kids clock this stuff. They haven't been taught how to repress all of their senses and intuition at this point. Like you say, if I look back at my childhood, I remember some of my friends whose parents were like that, who stayed together. And I remember going around their houses, and you could
miserable. It's just miserable.
So I don't believe that anyone actually stays together for the kids. I think they use that as an excuse because they're too scared to pull the plug.
Yes, and I think generations ago, you said when you were younger and you used to watch, go to your friend's house, generations, I think the dynamics were different. Because financially maybe women were more dependent, they didn't have an income, they couldn't afford to leave, and there was just really a lot of, it's a different world today where women
it's a very different world today. I mean, it's one of the reasons why divorce rates are so high for our generation, right? Is that women are actually more financially viable and capable of fending for themselves financially, because that was the purpose of marriage beforehand. That was literally the purpose of marriage, and we don't have that as a purpose anymore. Yet we still stuck in it as a I'm
That
gonna get
model.
shot here, man. I'm gonna get burnt by so there's I know there's some religious guys over there.
Everywhere. You know, a lot of times people don't want to adapt to the changes, and we have to really just admit that the world today is a very different world than it was when our parents were here, when our grandparents were here, and you know, some of the requirements are not there. But let me circle back real quick because I want to make sure, because I was listening to you talk about how you were in the middle of a business that was going bad, and you weren't really sharing the story with your wife. And we know we're given the whole spiel. We know marriage, it's supposed to be a partnership, and you know, your wife, your spouse, your significant other is supposed to be that ear, that sounding board. But there's a lot of weight on men, even though, as we've talked about, the roles have changed and things are different, but men still have this perception of gender is, you know, I'm supposed to protect, I'm supposed to provide, I'm supposed to, you know, just be the man. How important, now that you went through that, how important do you think this mysterious concept of gender roles is in marriage?
Okay, that's a great question. So first of all, what you're talking about there, that masculine energy to provide and protect, I don't think that's a new thing, and I don't think that's going anywhere. I think that has been around since the dawn of humanity. Okay, I do. I think that is the masculine energy, which we all have within us. All right, women can tap into it too, but I think predominant men, the majority of men will have a higher level of masculine energy within them, and part of that masculine energy, part of the testosterone, our biology, is driven. Reason why we're physically bigger and stronger is because we're here to protect and provide, right? So I don't think we're ever going to lose that. How that fits into modern society and modern relationships, that's what we're looking to figure out now, right? How we can do that. And I can still be a provider and a protector. I still am. If my ex-wife needs anything, if my children need anything, I'm there. No doubt, I still provide for my children, but that doesn't necessarily only mean financial. You know, that's where we've got that bit stuck. We've got it hung up on money. Since capitalism and the Industrial Revolution, we've got this concept is hung around money, because that's the kind of the world that we live in. But actually, I provide my kids with lots of different stuff now. You know, social and spiritual education. You know, the role model of a positive male in their lives. You know, I've got 3 daughters, so it's really important for them to see what a good man is all about. Okay, for sure.
I just a sidebar. I have always said that men who are fathers of daughters, it is like the curse, because back in their younger days,
you busted me.
They were probably treacherous with the ladies, and so that's the punishment.
I always said that to myself. I went to a fortune teller when I was a teenager once, and she said, "You will spend the rest of your life surrounded by beautiful women." I didn't realize what she actually meant. Like, I thought I was gonna have a harem, and instead I've got a car full of daughters and some ex-wives. That wasn't the plan.
Okay, so let me give you a hypothetical question. So you're at a coffee shop, you know, or whatever in Britain, having a spot of tea, and you're nice cup of tea with a lady, and you know, she's saying, I want a man to be a protector and a provider. You know, I want him to go out and fix the brakes on the car and stand on the proper side of the sidewalk. But when we have children together, I want him to roll up his sleeves and change diapers. And, you know, she wants everything. You know, she wants everything. And then she wants to be able to go out and have a career and make as much money as he.
So she wants everything too.
She wants everything. So, and this is one of the struggles that I have when I have conversations with women, especially today's modern women, is they're still holding on to everything of the old-fashioned, old stereotypical gender roles, but they want this hybrid situation. And I don't know how you combine all of that together.
I just think that is going to, we need to. That's what we're going to have to do, right? We have to look. That's what, for me, the definition of the modern man
Okay.
Like with a gender role, so my kind of philosophy and theory is based around masculine and feminine energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that in a relationship between a man and a woman, you have to have that polarity. Okay, so between us in a sexual way and in our relationship, right, the masculine is the one that leads that dynamic. Okay, like a dance. All right, there has to be a leader, but you're only going to do that if you trust me not to tread on your toes and not to drop you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So actually, the power and the trust comes from the feminine, but the masculine still has to lead. And so I can do that. I don't have to step into a feminine energy to change my child's nappy. You know,
Mm-hmm.
why wouldn't I
Diaper,
want to
your
be?
child's diaper
Yeah,
for us
sorry,
American
my
folk, right?
diaper, the diaper. No, the diapers, dude. No, that's Australian. Anyway.
No. In California, dude is yes, we say.
But and at the same extent, I mean, women are facing the same thing, right? I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to marry a housewife. Like I like women. Guys aren't. It's slightly different over there. I don't know, not necessarily in New York,
Mm-hmm.
but certainly in large parts of America, there are still women who stay at home, right? And that's cool. If that dynamic
Mm-hmm.
really works for you, that's fine. But I think certainly a lot of metropolitan areas, and certainly over here in the UK, women are off out to work,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and why not? But the stresses are still on them. The women that I know, I also run a women's group. And it's interesting to watch them carry that burden, this kind of expectation. I think it's hard for all of us. The problem is we don't understand it, and we don't really talk about it, and we don't talk about it in these ways. We're at this little crossroads where men and women are kind of almost enemies, where we're trying to get what we can from each other while getting our needs met, but we don't quite know how to communicate that with the other one.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're kind of half selfish, half kind of wanting, and needy from the other person, whereas actually there's a new way forward where we're just open and go, look, let's just share everything. Like if I'm
Okay.
better at this,
Yeah, that's
I'm going to do that, and you're better at this. So if you can earn more money, you earn more money. I'll work part-time. Weirdly enough, my dad is quite a shining example of that. He's a very masculine man. He was a professional soccer player.
soccer, football.
Football, yeah.
Mhm.
He was a professional footballer when I was younger. He came over from Jamaica to the UK when he was 11. Yet when I was born, he worked part-time to spend time with me, which was for those guys, and certainly for him in our community,
Jamaica,
that's
yes.
pretty rare. So he kind of set the tone for me to show what was possible.
Okay. Now, let me be nosy here. Being the modern man that you are, and you have figured this all out and how to balance,
I am not perfect.
balance, the whole masculine and feminine energy and everything. You
Yeah.
personally, could you be comfortable? Because I'm listening to you say you had your businesses and all of that stuff. Could you personally be a stay-at-home dad and feel comfortable with that?
See, I struggled with that. We actually had this conversation again when I came clean that the business was struggling, and I started qualifying as a coach and a therapist, and I wanted to set up this business. My wife at the time, her business, like my company before, I was paying for everything, and so she was working part-time, but she was able to kind of build her business much more slowly than mine because there was no need for her to pay for everything. So by that may have something to do with when we split, was when her business was doing really well. But at that point, before we did split, she was like, well, look, okay, if you want to do this, my business is taken off, but you're going to have to take responsibility for the children and everything else. That's going to have to be your priority. My priority would then be work. Okay. In the same, we're going to have to swap. And even then, my children were quite old, the youngest one was probably about 10 then. And again, with my Modern Man t-shirt on, I was like, of course, dear. And I went and I sat in my car, and it literally felt like someone had cut my angly bits off. It hurt. And I went back inside and I said, actually, no, I can't do that. I was really open with her, and I was like, this is how this feels. This doesn't feel right to me. No, I'm not sure that I will be able to manage that very
Well,
well.
how modern mannish is that?
Honest, that's what it is.
Okay.
Which is where it all starts, for sure.
That's true. That's true.
And again, because that thing of provider and protector is ancient. Unfortunately, the way we do that now is around earning money. And so it's a little tangle that needs to be, I think I could probably handle it a lot better now, 2 years later after I've done more work. But
so I'm still struggling.
I would still struggle with it, which is interesting, right?
Yes,
which is interesting.
I mean, because you're not the only one. I think no matter how progressive in the thought process is, you still find a lot of men today tying everything or a lot of it back to finances. Am I financially able to provide?
And I still think that because of it, because it's a primitive instinct that is brought into this modern dynamic, I still think women will find it funny too. I think there will be a loss of attraction because that ancient polarity is where it's at.
Yes.
Right. And so, we've got to find a new way of doing it. But I don't know, until we disassemble the establishment and destroy capitalism, and go back to picking berries and hunting out.
But even still, even still, if you think about, caveman time, it was the guys that went out with the clubs and,
exactly.
So it is ingrained and it's just transitioned to a new model, but it's still, the element there is a man is supposed to bring the resources to the household, back to the cave.
That's really the problem for masculinity and men at the moment, is because the tools we needed, the tools we've got that we've had since the dawn of time, our strength, our vision, our height, our testosterone, all of these things, our everything we've got that was there, our neurology and biology hasn't changed.
No.
All right, but our environment has. Okay. And so, but the workplace now doesn't require what it is. We don't need to go down the mines anymore. We don't need to go out to war anymore. We don't need to battle the hordes. We don't need to wrestle buffaloes or anything else like that. We actually need to go and sit in little boxes in offices and answer the telephone. So, exactly. So we've kind of been emasculated anyway. And so that last little vestige is to earn more money. And you see it in the boardrooms, the battlegrounds, certainly through the 80s and 90s, there was this, and on Wall Street, and you guys, all of that stuff was still there. We turn, but all of that is starting to dissipate now. It's all starting to go, and there's nowhere for us to take this energy. And that's what we're searching for now. We're searching for a new way where we can express our masculinity, where we can be men, all right, and do all of that stuff and be the provider and protector. We're searching for a new way. I don't pretend to have all of the answers, but I certainly am opening up the conversation, and this is a topic that needs to be addressed.
That's the first step, because and that's another problem I have found over the years, is men do not like to communicate. You guys do not like to talk. Even when you guys gather up at the watering hole and beat your chest together, you don't want to talk about, man, I'm really struggling with this. So just to open up the conversation.
So there's two parts to that. I think one is that the whole concept of kind of mental health and stuff, and talking therapy was designed by women, right? Because it's a caring, nurturing profession. So the medical profession is largely that side of it is largely kind of invented and designed by women for women. And so the answer for women is like, why don't you guys open up and talk? That's the solution. That's why you're all so upset. So actually, what we really don't like is being told what to do. All right. What we really don't like is being told to talk. All right. Or being sent to talk.
Okay.
That immediately shuts us down, because we're like, why do you want to take this thing from me? Why do you want my words? So I've found what's really important, and what I'm a big advocate of is men's groups.
Okay.
And that's what I run. That's what I've been part of. It's been a huge thing for me. Is that some men like to talk, some men like to listen, some men just like to see that other guys are going through the same thing, and they'll open up in due course.
Mm-hmm.
What men really like to do is sip a beer and go fishing, or go to the gym together. And you know what? In those moments where it's called sort of side by side or shoulder to shoulder therapy, where guys just kind of open up when they're ready. But we don't we it needs to be in a safe container where we know it's with guys that aren't going to stab us. So historically, again, for men, we're used to bantering with each other. Is that a word over there?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Banter.
So we're used to testing each other physically, mentally, and emotionally, right? Testing each other's toughness. All right. Because for back in the day, we wanted to know that if they came to attack us, the
You
guys
have
next to me are tough.
yes.
Right. This is where this kind of concept comes from, and we haven't lost that. And so if we are going to open up, we need to know that it's separate to that. So you can't mix the two. Quite often guys try and mix the two, and it doesn't feel like a safe place, because it says, well, if I open up, you guys are going to take the mickey out of me, you know, and I'm going to be left vulnerable, and then you might leave me out, you might put me out in front, you know, and I might die. So what we need to do is have a separate space where this is the talking space.
Okay.
You know, this is the open space. This is the safe space. And I've found with considerable experience, when you have a space like that, guys are like, their floodgates open.
Yes, that's
You know?
important. It's very important because I think the latest statistics show that men are the highest commit suicide at higher numbers than women.
No, it's like 2/3 more. Yeah.
Yes.
I have some controversial views on that too, but
okay. One or two?
Yeah, well, one of the reasons why male suicide rate is higher isn't because we suffer more. I think men and women are equally depressed and struggling with mental health issues at the same rate. We are just better at suicide. We are inherently more violent. We're more capable of violence, even towards ourselves. We're more likely to own guns. Certainly in the States, we're more likely to be able to figure out how to blow ourselves up or set fire to ourselves. Women tend to, plus our thing of the provider and protector is actually my family are better off without me in the picture. Whereas women who are more naturally nurturing, they're like, what's everybody going to do without me?
Gotcha.
So quite often when women commit suicide, they do so in less violent manners, drugs, alcohol, things like that, overdoses. They're more cry for helps rather than extreme sort of violent ways that guys do it.
Good point. Okay. Now, oh wow, 30 minutes ready. Okay, I want to talk real quick about your.
We could have gone on all day, Lana. We could go on all day, darling.
All day.
Together and have a nice cup of tea one day. And
I know, right? A biscuit, a cup of tea and a biscuit, right? A
cup of tea and a bicky, yeah.
Okay. Well, let me ask real quick before we go, because you do a lot of coaching services, but one of the programs that I saw on your website kind of intrigued me when I read it. It's a 12-week program, back in the game. So after your divorce, you got back in the game?
Back in the game, yeah. I mean, I work with guys who've been divorced, breakups, and things like that. I've actually renamed it now. You'll be
okay.
It's the Council of Kings. So what it is, that's a group program for men. So yeah, it's a program where we work through everything and we do it together. And like I said, this is where guys really do open up. I don't let them hide, you know. And actually, it's really brave. And when you frame it in that way, that this vulnerability is actually really powerful, and it's a strong thing to do. To open up and show other guys what you're going through, and sharing and leading each other and leading ourselves through what we're the troubles we're having at the time, which is what it's all about, really. And then we come out fresh and ready to get back in the game. More money, more sex, more energy.
Okay. Now let me ask you, because I always like to ask men, especially men in your field, if you could provide some advice to a woman who's in partnership with a man and she's just trying to have this wonderful, awesome, and amazing relationship with him, be his support system, and let him know she has his back and we are in this together. What are some things that a woman can do to be the best partner she can for a man?
Listen, man, encourage him to lead. You know, don't cut his dangly bits off when he does something wrong.
Mhm.
in your eyes, because in your eyes it's wrong. In his eyes, he was doing his best, right? We may not listen in the same way that you'd like to, because you do say a lot of words.
We communicate very differently.
We might have missed the bits that you've emphasized. So if you want your man to retain his masculinity and his masculine energy and to lead you and your family, you've got to step into your feminine. And so that is about allowing, that is about receiving. There is power in that. People have a total misunderstanding that that is weak, but it's not. In fact, it's more powerful than the other way around. You know, that is the ultimate vulnerability, being open to and receptive. So encourage him to lead, encourage him to make the decisions, and don't chastise him when he gets it wrong. That's my top tip for that.
Don't chastise him. Okay. Some of that might be coming from that Jamaican culture too. You know, manhood is, all the Jamaican men I know are very.
It's no, I mean, look, in Jamaica, it's too far. You know, it really is. I mean, I go over there a lot, and it is, and it's damaging. It's damaging a lot of guys over there. You know, one day, I hope to go over there and bring some of this enlightenment to them. But yeah, I think
it's a different world culturally over there.
It is.
Okay,
yeah.
We're gonna do the random question for them.
Woohoo! I was so looking forward to this.
We'll see what we got. Let's 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 see. I'm picking up.
Well, I don't know what I said.
No, because we've been talking. The question, I mean, because it's what we've been talking about, kind of, sort of, all day. It was what is the best thing about being male? I don't want to talk about, because you're the male guy. You're the modern male guy. I want something random. Let's see what we got here. Okay. So you can give us some tourist advice here. What's the best place you had a burger at?
The best place I had a burger at, that was Vegas. I said, sorry, man. Come on. I mean, this like, we don't do burgers like you guys.
Fish and chips, right?
Yeah, fish and chips. I eat a lot of Jamaican food over here. That's always good. But yeah, pretty
curried goat and all of that, right?
Curry goat,
patties and rice and peas. All right, okay.
So yeah, the best burger I ever had was in that there's like it was a horrible place where they weigh you or whatever before you go in, and if you're real big and heavy, they give you a free burger. It's only in America, but yeah, and only in Vegas, to be fair.
Only a Jamaican English person is going to promote some American restaurant. Okay, here we go.
I can't even remember what it's called. Sorry.
All righty, Mr. Beauhill, Mr. Modern Man Coach. Can you please tell everybody how we get in touch with you and how we pick up a divorce, a modern man's guide? How we get that?
The book is available on Amazon. The best way to find it is to put my name into Amazon, Fidel Beauhill. I'm the only Fidel Beauhill in the entire world. So
I would assume so.
I am. So if you Google me, or if you find me on Facebook, I run the Modern Man Club, which is a big men's Facebook community. There's like nearly 2,000 guys in there. So it's a real open, nice place. We've got guys from all over the world in there. Yeah. And my book, Divorce, A Modern Man's Guide, is out now on paperback at the moment. The Kindle edition will be arriving towards the end of next week. And in December, there'll be the Audible version.
Okay. Now, I do want to mention, you do work with women, because it's always nice for a woman to get...
I've stopped. I do run a women's group, the Modern Woman Club, where we also have women from all over the world. It's 700 women and me. So I'm very blessed to have access to that kind of community. I think I'm fairly unique in that way. I'm not sure many men get that glimpse of the inner workings of a big tribe of women like that. But it's just a bit of an insight. I do, but the big vision is to do more work with women. But maybe when I find my next partner, that's what I'm looking for. I'm searching for the modern woman coach to be my life partner, the next wife number 2.
So you are looking.
If anyone out there wants to apply for the job, am I looking?
Okay, now we're having auditions here.
I'm not looking. I'm just being, and if she arrives, if the universe dictates, it will arrive.
Yeah, okay, that's wonderful. But I do like that you work with women, because one of the things I do my own relationship work, and one of the things I always tell women is you need to stop gathering together in coffee shops, bickering amongst each other, talking about, men or this. You need to get a man's point of view about how a man is.
Which is what the women's group is about, really. Yeah. It's their opportunity to be in there and get called out. for some of their nonsense, because they still try it, even though I'm in there. They challenge me.
Well, you guys ain't this and
yeah. I mean, they call me out and I call them out. So I've had a couple of days in there where I've had to lie down and with a cold pack on my head. You know, it's no easy feat corralling a.
I commend you for that. I commend you for that. One man with a whole bunch of women. I commend you for that.
But it works. It works for them, and it's a unique situation. So mostly it's either a women's group or it's a mixed group. So it's very few. The vibe in there is very women's group, but they get me to give them a little insight and to pull them up on the stuff when they.
Great. Big cojones you have for doing that. Yeah. All righty, dear. Well, I've taken up more of your time today, so I apologize for that, but I had a good time. Yes, I had a good time chatting with you, and everybody needs to go out there and pick up the book and give men a little slack, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Give men a little slack. They're trying the best they can. They're doing the best.
They are indeed.
And if you feel that they can do better, don't chastise them, and just gently, babe, I think, maybe.
No, just go and have it. You can that's when you go to the coffee shop and have a moan at your friends, and take a breath and come home again and be nice.
All righty, love. That is all for this week's episode of The Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reid, and I will see everybody next time. Bye.